factory floating over here, doing some nice scouting for him, saving some of those money scans that you mentioned earlier.
We actually saw a money scan on the ramp of the natural, caught the entire army of Ryan, saw all the Templar, all the Zealots with the +1 armor. You know, he has to know that that +2 armor is on its way. You know, +2 or +1 attack by the, on the way as well. So we're going to see a heavy upgraded ground army, gateway units, plus those Templar out of Ryan. You know, and again, this is such a brutal army to deal with as Terran, unless you have really good ghost control or medevacs. We do see medevacs out on the field now and getting loaded up immediately for a drop.
Yeah, SCVs being transferred right along the same path just about, and the one downside to this Templar play is you tend to not have a lot of observers, so you play kind of blind a lot, I guess, if that makes any sense. So what you should do is kind of spread your Templars out to protect you from drops. And we do have an engagement here in the middle. These small group of bio getting cut off. They are stimming to that third. They might be able to get in there and do some damage.
You know, and this is the kind of thing you need to do against the Protoss army. You can't really engage it directly. You need to split it up, attack multiple places at once. And while that's happening at the third, a drop in the main, killing off a ton of probes. You know, probes finally starting to run, and oh, he is going for the Templar Archives, and if he snipes this, it could be absolutely huge. And it goes down!
Game changing right there. Picking off some key tech structures, killed a lot of harvesters as well. Just doing tons of damage in there, way more than you really should be. And wow, he's going to even pick off the Citadel that is researching Blink. Oh no!
And Blink delayed, going after pylons now. It takes out a Templar, takes a huge storm, and then look at this. Loads up and gets out. He only lost 2 Marines in that entire engagement. And what did he gain? You know, a Twilight Citadel, you know, taken out, and a Templar Archives completely demolished. We see another small force stimming forward, going for the 4th base of Ryan. And it looks like a drop at the 3rd at the same time, going to easily be able to take down that Nexus if he target fires it, which he does. And oh my, this is the kind of drops that will just destroy a Protoss player.
Yeah, definitely. He's just all over the map right now, and those 2 ships up in the top are still sitting there, and look at, they're actually moving in as we speak, so he is literally just harassing Protoss on all fronts, picks up the units at the 3rd, gets out of there, barely, oh my god, the mid-back got picked off, but still, he got out of there with one of them. He's in the main again, just picking off things. He's going to focus fire this Nexus after he kills all these probes. It is going to die. And you know what? I think Ryan says he's had enough of this. He's marching straight towards Fantasy.
You know, and I think, you know, this is exactly the right response out of Ryan. You know, in a situation like this, you know, you've lost so much of your production capacity, but I would hesitate to say, or I would, you know, be sure to say that, you know, he has a very scary army here, and if he controls it right, he probably can do a ton of damage. 2 good EMPs going off on the majority of the army, softening it up, and he's pushing out into this choke with bunkers. Not sure if I like this idea, but huge storms going down.
Good feedbacks as well. That's a lot of Protoss units, and he needed more ghosts. He didn't have them, unfortunately. And we're looking at probably another base traits. You know, Fantasy seems to love to get himself into these kind of games.
And look at this, the Protoss army pushing up into the main, you know, more units pulling out, but of course, Terran, if you get an army on top of their production facilities, they are almost dead in the water. You know, getting huge storms going off on those Marine Marauder clumps. But we see the small forces of Fantasy here just kind of cleaning up in the main here, taking out all these pylons, you know, making it so that you are unable to warp in off those gateways.
Yeah, and Ryan's actually trying to build a Nexus here in where he doesn't know Fantasy is, and the Planetary actually kills it off. And meanwhile, that small force you mentioned in Ryan's main base of Marines and Marauders and a couple of medvacs is killing all the gateways, while Fantasy actually had a lot of money banked up and is actually building 8 barracks right now, all with tech labs up at the 11 o'clock position. So if he can find a way to just bunker up and use that Planetary, I think he's going to have a hard time breaking that Planetary without Colossus.
I certainly agree. And the Planetary huge. It looks like +2. If we look at Fantasy's base, these two engineering bays about to finish 2-2, and it has finished. So you know, Protoss buddy, you know, Ryan failed to kill off those engineering bays, and now 2-2 is finished. That's going to make that absolutely huge amount of Marine Marauder being pumped out of those. What is that? 9 racks up at that you know, 11 o'clock main, even more effective. And look at this, walling in the planetary with barracks. Oh, this is
very smart.
This is
Protoss
just
is here though, and he's gonna get through here. I think. I'm not sure if this planetary is. He's got enough storm to storm the SCVs off of it, so we'll have to see if this thing breaks or not.
planetary though gonna be able to hold on for a long time and do a ton of damage, taking out so many zealots right now.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of medvacs actually. He dropped those units from his third that he, or excuse me, the ones he was just killing the Nexus of Ryan. So he's using the high ground to his advantage, picking off some units. Wow.
Oh, and look at this. You know, Fantasy seeing the weakened army, stims and goes for it with all those medevacs and the GG out of Ryan.
Yeah, what a dramatic ending to an awesome game. That was some of the best drop play I've seen in a long time in the Terran vs. Protoss.
Certainly.
And yeah, climatic finish. He did what he needed to do up there. That planetary was actually, even though it died, it was I think what won him the game really, because had it not been there, I don't know if he would have had enough to hold that army off by the time it made it up there into the barracks. So.
I certainly agree. I mean, in a situation like this, that planetary killed off so many zealots, and, you know, as we mentioned before, those zealots with 2 armor are really what tanks all the damage from the Marines and the Marauders, allowing the Stalkers, the High Templar, the Archon to do the damage. I mean, but unfortunately, the planetary taking out most of those zealots, that high armor not being that effective against the huge attack of planetary deals, and then the Marauders easily can pick off the remaining Stalkers.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, unfortunately for Complexity Ryan, he died with quite a few resources. It's just that Fantasy didn't really allow him. He killed off all his gateways. He had to rebuild, and then he killed off all his nexuses. So he had no income except for the natural there at the end of the game. So it was a good GG. You know, the game was over.
Certainly. And I think with that, we are going to be bouncing out of the game. Again, this is Gwyn and Rohans. That is GR StarCraft. You can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/GRStarCraft. You can also check out all the other videos we've uploaded for LZuruha. That is at LZuruha's YouTube, which is youtube.com/LZuruhaMedia. You know, and additionally, guys, you know, please follow us on Twitter, you know, follow us on LZuruha Media, because we have an announcement coming up pretty soon that is going to knock your socks off. You definitely want to stay tuned for that. It's going to be very exciting for all of us. Going to be a lot of good content coming down the pipe.
Yeah, and you know, like he just mentioned, we're super excited about it, and it's if you're into esports and you want the community to grow, please help us out and give us any feedback that you can. And as you mentioned, we have a big deal coming up, so you can definitely read about that in our forums in the near future.
Certainly, and that we're going to bounce out of this game. This is Gwyn and Rohan's GR StarCraft signing off.